Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ.
and it is Friday in the Riv. And, well, as usual, we got a whole bunch of things to talk about, but I guess we should kind of mention the bullet holes in the truck on President Avenue
That
because
might be a good idea.
it is getting close to the north end. That's kind of the line of demarcation. Once the bullet holes finally land on something, uh, above north of President Avenue, we're going to start seeing some action. Maybe Paulie will then realize that we got a little problem here. But then again, who knows?
Right. It's interesting that we see these issues, these shootings, and Paul always says they're targeted, they're targeted, they're targeted. Um, Chris Peckham had a comment that he made about it, and he said that when is the mayor going to acknowledge that we have a gang problem? All these shootings are done by people in their early 20s or teenage years, and he's right. When's the mayor going to acknowledge it, and when is he going to put together a plan to address it? The
Now,
interesting thing is that somebody snapped back, and of course, we have the mayoral kiss asses out there who snapped back and said, "But that's why you didn't run for re-election because the mayor removed you from everything. He put a stop to you." I guess they couldn't handle the truth.
no, the truth. Listen, we don't have a plan for anything in Florida except to spend more money. We just had the CFO say we're broke. We can't
Right.
spend any money till 2033, and they're hiring a guy for 80 grand for maintenance for Durfee because they said, oh, we got an entire maintenance department, an entire department dedicated to maintenance. And also, the ordinance says that the DCM is also required to maintain all public buildings in Fall River, which includes school buildings. But they have their own department.
That's
And we
right.
still need somebody else at 80,000 plus benefits. So they're going to justify that by saying, well, this way that the school might last 40 or 50 years. Listen, we had an entire maintenance department before, one more salary. Why do we? You realize the insanity of these people? They tell you they're broke. They want you to pay more and more taxes. And they never stop spending. They just don't stop spending. Another job. You think they might be a hiring freeze? You think they're negotiating contracts as we speak. Collective bargaining agreements. They can't afford the ones they have in place. She said it. She said it at the November meeting. They can't meet the contracts they have now. And they're going to negotiate new ones. And they're not going to give them 0, 0, 0. The last time I checked, if we added 3 years, and by the way, for you people who don't know, statutorily, you can't have a collective bargaining agreement under 150E for longer than 3 years. So it's 2024. If you sign a 3-year contract, that only goes to 2027. That's still long before 2033. the time where they said we can't spend any money until, yet they continue to spend money. But you know what they don't ever stop doing? Raising your taxes, raising your fees. This is the problem. While they give away the store to their friends. And let me segue quickly into something else. I know there was a MBTA fiasco down there again. That we went to the original one, I believe. But
yes, we did.
I guess Nelson was down there and he talked about getting fair market value for property.
Right.
And I guess they caught Kenny. He said they didn't sell it for $1, but supposedly there's some proof. New Bedford is suing the MBTA, as are a lot of other communities, on this issue. And we are getting some rumblings from our sources that there may be a lawsuit being prepared in Fall River about this, because there's an awful lot of explaining to do. How property gets transferred for $1 or no dollars, zero. They're just handing properties over. And I was told that Mr. Fiola said, well, you know, if you give me a property for $1 and I can make millions on the property, I'll do that every day. You're right, you'll do that as a deal for your client. But how about the people who get screwed on the land? You don't think the taxpayers should get a return on land?
Right.
You don't think people should get a return on their land? So I'm going to tell you, Kenny, I'll make you a deal. Let's make a deal. You sell me your house for $1, and I'll make $1 million on it. Then I'll be happy. Does that sound like a deal to you, Kenny? You'd never do that with your own house, would you? You'd never do that with your own property, would you? But you'll do it with everybody else's property for your clients to pad your bank account. They screwed the people of Fall River. That land is in the city of Fall River. We did not get anywhere near market value. And hopefully, these people get this suit together and go forward with it like they did in New Bedford. Because at least New Bedford, with all its problems, at least attempts to do a few things for the people. The
interesting thing about New Bedford was that Mayor Mitchell backed that lawsuit.
Yes.
Because there was an issue with the amount of reimbursement that the MBTA was giving to the property owners, not to the city, to the property owners. And accordingly, they're claiming that they were robbed of millions of dollars. And so they're filing a lawsuit. Now, I'm not sure if it applies to the state or the MBTA, but when you use a deceptive practice in business in Massachusetts, you can recover 3 times the damages. A deceptive practice would be evaluating a property at less than market value. That would be a deceptive practice to me. Now, why does Fall River do it all the time? They sell properties for $1.
Yeah, but who do
to
they
the politically connected.
That's
And
the key.
then all of a sudden, boom, they're making market rate housing there.
Yeah, they
There's
can make
something wrong with
millions.
this picture. You've got something to explain, Lucy.
Well, you know as well as I do, when they sell those properties, they sell them to a select few.
That's right.
You don't get to buy property for $1. You don't, and especially when you've got developments coming down the road. We all remember, well, not we all, but some of us remember Valley Steakhouse in the South End,
Yes, I do.
where the Stop and Shop is now, and the Shores property. Those 2 properties got sold for $1. with the insider information that there were supermarkets coming in the not too distant future, and the individual who bought those properties made an awful lot of money rolling that property over.
Yeah.
And we know that. But this is what happens in Fall River. Fall River is just, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, there's always been corruption. It's part of politics. There's always been patriots. But the level in this city now is just incredible. Yeah. High Ubers, yeah. The high water bills, you're right. But again, Watergate, you know, 2.0, all these things. And it's incredible. Like I said, they speak out of both sides of their mouth and their anal orifice at the same time. Because they're talking about how broke we are and we can't afford to do anything, yet they continue to spend money. But they then continue to figure out ways to tax us, to make us pay for their fiduciary irresponsibility. I mean, it's just crazy. I hope they do sue them. I hope it all comes out. I think the FBI should be down here investigating these. I think these things rise to the level of RICO violations. These people, to me, are acting in collusion. It appears that they're colluding to do this at the expense of the city and the taxpayers. Yeah, well, yeah, he is trying to make a business out of it. We all know, listen, I've got my trusty bottle now. This is always going to be one of my props because we know about Watergate 2.0. Now listen, this bottle is only about 1/3 full now, but I'll sell it to you for the bargain price of $100. Because we know that water is a business now. Because they're telling you that you're supposed to pay more even if you use less. And they're going to tell you everybody does it, but that's a lie, flat out lie. Just like everybody doesn't get market rate pricing for when they buy land. Listen, the MBTA and this law that they passed for the zoning is the biggest robbery for the rich in this state that was ever passed. It's legal burglary. They're stealing your land. They're taking land from cities and towns. Your land. Taking away your ability to determine how your city is developed. And they can do anything they want. And they brag about it. They brag about it. Oh, you don't even need to go down to the building department. You don't need to pull a permit. You can do anything you want as long as you pay us. As long as you hire me. This is the thing. I mean, this is just blatant. Rich taking care of the rich. And there are a lot of lawsuits. You notice that Newton told them to go bang their ankles? All the rich communities can fight this. But places like Fall River and New Bedford can't because they don't have the money. Because what the state does is they hold you hostage. If you don't let them do what they would, take your city over, a strip of your city, and even outside that strip in some places, like Fall River, which I don't think is legal, they take tax money away from you. They take some of the grants you get away from you. Then you're not eligible for the grants. You let us hijack your city or town, or we'll penalize you and take money away from you. Just like they're telling you, listen, you own the water, but I don't care that you own it. We're not buying water from somebody else, but you're going to pay more anyway, whether you use more or less. I just got a thing in from, I forgot which one it was, maybe Liberty Utilities or something. I don't know. But it was free shower heads, water water-saving shower heads and new thermostats you could get if you put in on a special program. There are income requirements, but I guess they send them to everybody. Why bother? Why bother? Save your heating bill, save on your heating bill, pay more for your heat. Save more on your water bill, pay more for your water. That's not a business? Of course it's a business. What do businesses do? They buy this water for 50 cents, they sell it for $1. Make a profit. But that business is predicated on you being a customer. But they got the best of both worlds. Their business is predicated as, I don't give a damn if you buy it or not, you're paying. So the next time you go to the supermarket, you think you're going to go back to the supermarket if you walk by the case of water and you don't buy it and they charge you for it? I don't think you'll go back to that market anymore. But you don't have a choice in this city. They're robbing us blind, people. They're robbing us blind. With that, back to you.
I have to say, let's go back to the discussion about the WTOD, which Mr. X clearly brought up and said they should table it, which you and I both know they're not going to table that zoning change. But Mr. Aguirre said very clearly, well, in towns like Milton and Newton, they're rich, so they can fight this, and they don't need the money from the city. But we in Fall River need the money from the state. We need the money for the roads. We need the money for the sidewalks. We need the money for the grants for our public safety. It's not that, I mean, we're dependent upon it. Fall River is a welfare city because they receive welfare from the state. And they can't exist without it. And the problem is that they keep spending more money, and there's not enough money coming from the state to support the spending. There just isn't. So, it's just. And Mr. Roberts, you're right. Trying to save water is becoming pointless because no matter how little water we use, we pay more anyway. You're right. You're right. We're not making this up. They said it. They said it very clearly.
But you know the problem, CJ, is, like I said, they talk out of both sides of their mouths. They tell you they're broke, but they're not hiring they're hiring more people. They're negotiating contracts as we speak. There's no hiring freeze. You hate to date yourself. You remember back during the Nixon administration where they froze everything in the United States fundamentally.
Yeah.
You couldn't get a contract. You couldn't get a pay raise. He froze it nationally. But no, look at this. Listen to what you just said. Let's break that down. They're telling you that Milton and these other cities have the right to fight them, but we can't because we don't have the money and we need state money. Well, what's the reason we need state money? It's because of them. They can't stop spending money and then begging for it back from the state. In Milton, in Wellesley, in these places that are very, very affluent, and for some reason, affluent people worry more about their money than poor people do. Poor people just throw in a towel and say, well, there's nothing we can do about it, but there is. But the reality is that they're the problem. Why is Fall River a welfare city? Why has it always been a welfare city? Because they never stopped spending money. Paul Coogan in his first term said he was going to give us a tax break. He also said that we wouldn't have any Durfee debt after 8 years.
Thankfully, I didn't hold my breath.
Yeah, good thing. Yeah, you'd have been dead a long time ago.
That's right.
As we all would be. But see, this is the irony of the thing. They love to blame other people and the circumstances we're in on everybody but who's responsible, which is them. Just like when our CFO complained about the retirement system comprising over 10% of our budget. Well, it does. And why does it? Did anybody in that retirement system who worked for the city of Fall River ever miss a payment into that retirement system? No. Never. Never. Every single paycheck it got taken out and put in. Why are we the way we are with the retirement system? Because they did it. People like her, CFOs like her, city councils like the one we have. They allowed the city to pay late, not pay too little, try to get that third vote so they can continue to do it, and from 02 to 12, we tanked the system. They're crying about a problem that they created, just like now. We don't have the money to fight this water raise. Yes, we do. Don't make it. Don't increase the rates and figure out a way to pay for it, just like we all have to do. I got to put a roof on my house. I got to figure out how I can scrape up the money to do it. I can't go beg the state. I can't raise my neighbor's taxes and take a cut. I can't raise their water bill. We have to figure out how to do more with less. Or we have to give up things. Is now the time to hire a guy to look over maintenance at Durfee? After all these years of the maintenance department, and they go on TV in front of that council and tell you we cannot maintain our buildings. So their answer is, let's hire another guy not to maintain our buildings. That's going to fix the problem. It hasn't been fixed in 40 years. But we're going to fix it by hiring another one of our cronies. We're broke, but we're going to continue to spend money. Well, that's why they all have to be removed. Because this is, the definition of insanity is clear. When you do the same thing and expect a different result. Well, we've done the same thing for years, and the Coogan administration has elevated this to an art form. How to piss money into a storm drain with no regard for the consequences. $88 million in federal. He's had more money than any other mayor in history. All kinds of federal handouts with COVID, post-COVID, all kinds of grants, and we're broke. They tell you, Milton Friedman was right. You give them the Sahara Desert, they'll run out of sand. The only way to control these people is bounce them out of office, and that council, they are an absolute disgrace. But listen to these people. They turn around and project in psychology. They project their thing. They blame it on you. Oh, the retirement system's a problem. Well, you made that problem. We're broke. Well, you created that problem. You negotiated contracts you can't pay for, and you're still negotiating new contracts. You're not putting a freeze on anything. You're not saying, okay, we'll talk about working conditions, but we're not going to talk about any increases for now, because we're broke. You and I have to go, hey, I can't afford to go out for a steak dinner this week, this month, maybe this year. Now I'm going to have a water bill that's tripled, excise tax that's tripled, property tax going through the roof, an override that I don't know how much I'm paying for. Now they're looking for another 2.5 override. People, we have to wake up. It's time to revolt. Yeah, you're right. That's exactly what we need, a clean sweep, CJ. And like I said, this is like You know, this makes the Star Wars bar look like it's normal. I mean, this city is just, yeah. Look, this city is just, look, it's always been, like you said, a welfare state. But now, I mean, and then the crying from them, like we have to do this. We have to do this. No, you don't. Kilby. It's a good cause. Get a 2.5 override, lose your house, but it's for a good cause. We can spend more money. We can ignore the fact, like I said, that council meeting was an absolute travesty. Not one word from anybody except Michelle about, hey, can we save money? I heard an excerpt from her this morning talking about solar panels saving money in the schools because we got billions of dollars worth of heating costs. Nobody else cares about that. Their solution is make us pay more, even if we don't have the money. So, CJ, go ahead, kick some butt.
I have to really be disgusted. Let's talk about a few things. We're broke. We know we're broke. We've been told we're broke. Bridget has said it numerous times. We're broke. We're so broke we can't even borrow money until 2033. But you know they're going to find a way to borrow money. You know that. They have no other way of doing it. And as a matter of fact, I believe, Chip, you remember when you were in Boston with Linda Pereira and Sean Kadim, and they said that we were $500 million in debt. I think we're probably closer to $1 trillion in debt now. It wouldn't surprise me if we were. That's an exaggeration, people. Before I get a phone call from the dictator's office saying, we never did be near. Hey, you got the numbers wrong. Fine, we got the numbers wrong. It's an exaggeration. But let's look at what's not an exaggeration. They spend whatever money they get as fast as they get it. The Fall River School District is looking to hire new teachers. They've got billboards, which you got to pay for, in Brockton, New Bedford, and Providence. Brockton, New Bedford, and Providence. They currently have 65 to 70 open positions, primarily for special ed and English learning, language learning, and for science and math at every level. The Fall River School District added approximately 200 new positions last year, using the influx of money it received from the Student Opportunity Act. That was of 2019. That's a state law that rewrites the formula the state uses to allocate cash to each city or town's public school district. So as soon as they got it, they spent it. I gotta spend it. I already hired 200 people. I need to hire 70 more. But where are these people coming from? You're already saying that people aren't going into the teaching industry anymore. No, they're not. They get no support from the administrations. There are no repercussions for students who attack and cause problems in the school. You don't want to suspend them. You don't want to hold them liable. You don't want to do anything. We see this at a school that's not even a year old or 2 years old. That's already got holes in walls, electrical outlets hanging out. We showed you those pictures. I mean, we're not playing games here. We're not making this stuff up. I don't see why you can't see it. I can see it. And I'm not even in city government. And you have a city government that you elected. And the only person you elected that was good was Michelle Dion. All the rest are bobbleheads. Look at what Andrew Raposa did. He was away from the meeting. He wasn't there. But he showed up for the water and sewer rate increase vote. He was there. You might as well not have shown up at all. The vote was going to go through. So instead of 6-3, it would have been 5-3. We need to make sure that we are holding our elected officials accountable. But we're not. You know why you're not holding them accountable? Because, oh, she replaced my sidewalk. He filled the pothole in front of my house. He got my trash picked up. He fixed my water problem. That's what happens. You vote for these
remember
people.
one thing, CJ. What you just said, what Bridget said. You got to learn to, you know, you got to, see, that's the problem with people. They haven't learned the politicians' code, the way they speak.
Right.
You see, Bridget said we can't borrow until 2033.
Right.
That is political code for, yeah, we can't get a loan from anybody because we suck and we never pay on time. Okay? But you know what that's code for? We got to get it out of you clowns.
Right.
Like Linda said, the peasants. We got to find more taxes, more fees, and try to con you into thinking that it's unavoidable because we can't stop spending money. That's what she said. We can't buy, like, you can't get a credit card.
Right.
That's what I said at the retirement board meeting. When I asked Arthur Vienna, I said, the city has been paying late for 15 years. We're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest and investment that we could have. Would you give somebody who paid late on everything for 15 years a better interest rate? And the answer was no. Of course not. But the city tells you we never have to pay our bills, we never have to stop spending, and we can't get another loan. Of course you can't get another loan. You're deadbeats. If you don't pay a credit card for 15 years, nobody's going to give you a credit card. You're probably going to be in jail or living in a tent. Listen, this is not something new here. They've been deadbeats their whole life. I told you a story. It's a true story. I was at a fire. I was the chief. We had a flat tire. They reported it to me on the scene. We had a good fire. We were going to be there for a while. So I radioed for the maintenance division to come down, and the head of the maintenance came over to me and said, yeah, he said, we're going to have to go get a tire, and I said, replace it. I said, well, can't move the apparatus, and I said, we got to put it in service as quickly as possible, so get a tire, I'll keep this engine where it is for now, and we'll use that. I'll send one of the other engines back, but we're going to have to ultimately clear the scene here. I want this thing ready to go into service again. He came back a little while later and said, look, it's going to be a while. And I said, why? He said, nobody will sell us a tire. Nobody in the greater Fall River area would sell us a tire because we were in arrears with paying our bills at every place we dealt with. You had to go to Brockton for the tire. Had to send the maintenance truck to Brockton to buy the tire. True story. This is it. This is the way this city is run. It is a absolute catastrophe. This is chaos. And they balance it on your back, and now we're at the breaking point. Listen, Sean Kadim said, and that's a long time ago because he was the city administrator at the time, we were $500 million in the hole if they called in all our bills. I would clearly say we're easily well over $1 billion. Well over $1 billion in debt now. We're on the verge of receivership. What's going to happen when people can't pay these water bills, can't pay their taxes, can't pay all these fees, and we can't get any money from the state? Because next year you're getting nothing from the state because the state's in the toilet. They're already talking about giving state employees furloughs. We're in trouble. And the thing is that hopefully something's going to be done. Who knows? Maybe somebody will recall these idiots. We got nearly 2 years to go with these people. I mean, this is catastrophic. We are looking at receivership without a thing. Yeah. I cannot wait till the next election and to see if everybody's going to step up. If you're still not living in a tent, we'll get you to the polls. But we've got to replace, as some of our viewers said, we got to clean house, because this is crazy. This is crazy. They're asking you to do what they would never do, because they have the same attitude as the rest of the elitists, like Faiola. Oh, he said, if I can grab a piece of land for $1, I'll do that in a minute if I can make millions on it. Yeah, if you can make millions in your client. But you don't mind screwing a taxpayer. Like I said, I'll close with this. Kenny, sell me a house for $1. I'll thank you profusely. And I'll roll it over and make myself a lot of money. Is that good for you? No. But it's good for me. That's the way they operate. So we've got to start pushing back, people. We got to start pushing back and pushing back hard. With that, CJ.
I hate to change the subject a little bit, but I have to before we run out of time, because you brought up at the opening of the show about the MBTA meeting that happened this week. Number one, we were promised the MBTA already. Then they put it back to the summer. Now we're putting it to the fall. And we said on the show, when are we going to get it? We don't think we're going to get it. Now they have all of these regulatory things they've got to jump through. And they already had a problem because a car was found on the tracks. And the train's going to be running through Fall River along those tracks at 70 plus miles an hour. 70 plus miles an hour. If you're on those tracks, you're not going to have time to get out of the way. You're just going to be squashed like a bug. But Carlos Caesar went to that meeting. And all they kept talking about was the positives about bringing the T to Fall River. So Carlos brought up a few cons, a few things that aren't going to work for Fall River, like the WTOD, like the housing issue, because the law doesn't require that affordable housing be built. It just says housing, multifamily housing. And Carlos asked them, you're talking about all the positives. Give me a few of the cons. What are a few of the cons? They all looked at each other like they had no idea what he was talking about. And to top it all off, because Mr. Caesar saw them do it, the dictator and Ken Faiola were laughing back and forth while this citizen was talking about their concerns and about what could be the negative effects of the T on the city of Fall River. Nobody seems to have one. Nobody seems to want one. Nobody wants to talk about it. But there aren't always just positives. For there to be a positive, there must be a negative somewhere.
Well, I got to get something in quickly on that, because, look, there are a lot of negatives. All you got to do is watch Channel 5 or Channel 7 News, Boston News, and you'll see the T in there all the time. We had newspaper articles complaining about the problems with the T. See, Fall River is the only place where everything's always rosy. The grass is always greener on the other guy's cesspool, and over the other guy's cesspool. And they always try to convince you that everything that comes to Fall River is going to be the greatest it's ever been. Everybody knows the T is an unmitigated disaster. Okay, so let's put that to bed. And Paulie was on the television this morning talking about the delay, saying that now there's a problem with the switching station in Taunton. But listen, all you ever get is excuses and cons. That T is not here, and when it gets here, it probably won't last 3 or 4 years. They'll be shutting it down like they did at the Cape. because of lack of ridership, and it's going to be a disaster. Listen, the only place that the T is not problematic is in Fall River and New Bedford. They conned everybody down here because nobody knows what's going on in Boston. Nelson and Colin Dyers made a presentation. They showed those articles from Channel 5 News, Channel 7 News, the newspaper articles from the Boston newspapers saying what a mess the T is. There's lawsuits all over the state against the T. It's a mess. But these people come down. Cons, it's like, what? And you got the two bozos laughing because they're laughing all the way to the bank. That was a very somebody should have videoed that because the two of those yo-yos don't care. They just don't care. They're laughing all the way to the bank while they're telling you that this is going to fix everything. And even Senator Roderick was truthful. He said, listen, this is just another piece of it. This is not going to fix anything. It's just going to be, it's a mode of transportation. So I don't know how we ever got from, it's a train. It's a train that takes people from one place to another. It's not a train carrying gold and carrying jobs with it, because the people who work on the T are already employed. These people, all their false promises will burn down, and again, who's going to be the victims? We are, unless we get rid of them. Yeah, the Green Line, you're right. The Green Line put a brand new track in, and they had to rip it all up because they screwed it up.
Because it was too short.
Listen, if there's a way to F anything up, the MBTA will do it. And I'm going to tell you, this is just, it's like I said, it's a bizarro world. That's what we got here, CJ.
And remember, the MBTA has been funded for decades by the state taxpayer, even though the state taxpayer doesn't have the benefit of the MBTA. Only the greater Boston area for years, for decades, only had the benefit of the MBTA. That's why they have the MBTA. Because for years, they've been subsidized by the state taxpayer, even though we didn't get that benefit. I don't see them subsidizing SRTA. I don't see that. Maybe CERTA should be taken over by the MBTA. This way, we'll get more money. I mean, if you're going to look at money, look at it that way. I'm sorry, I just can't. I get so frustrated with that. Well, I want to thank you all for watching. Try to run between the raindrops today, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. And remember Chip's water bottle. Have a great weekend, and we will see you on Monday, Patriots Day. We are going to be on, so don't think we won't. Stay angry, people. Have a good weekend.